let's start by just talking about a couple of the things that are probably a little obvious here, but are important to understand kind of the end-to-end life cycle. We start out with a traditional view of just how license subscriptions are achieved, over a period of time. So basically, you've got a series of purchase events. You've got multiple subscriptions. Subscriptions are overlapping on each other, and effectively, the outcome is you really never know at any given time, what that license load ends up looking like. You purchase some new things, subscriptions end, then licenses go away, and then other subscriptions happen, and maybe your subscriptions overlap. I've got a 1 year and a 3 year subscription here, and they result in different times in which events actually happen. And so it becomes essentially very mysterious as to when life cycle actions should actually happen on this. One of the, in my opinion, the big benefits of an enterprise agreement is it brings predictability, or at least the framework of predictability, onto all of this planning. So you've got various either true up or true forward events that happen over a period of time. You set up your agreement in the first place. Sometimes a true forward might increase your license load, and that's because you're being agile and you're bringing new software assets into the agreement. As the customer grows. Sometimes it doesn't change at all because what you previously had, you were either able to reuse or maybe there wasn't any growth. But there might be a couple of years of true forwards, and then there's renewal. At a renewal, that gives you an opportunity to either move up or down. Your renewals don't just mean that you just decrease the number of licenses. It's actually an opportunity to reflect and look at, well, did I actually use all these things? Did I size this correct? Nope. Let me resize it down here a little bit, or yep, let me resize it up a little bit more. But it gives you those points in which to reflect and kind of get these numbers right. And so, like I said, it's this predictability that we're going to lean into. The next part is let's consider the life cycle. So again, since this is a Cisco-focused conversation, we're going to use the Cisco CX racetrack. Most people are probably very, very familiar with this as this is becoming more and more common in conversations. But what I'm going to point out on this is that there are different pit stops. There are different points on this customer life cycle that are more important than others. And there are points on this that people tend to focus today and tend to put all of their efforts into, and they may not necessarily be the right points. And so a kind of left to your own to people's own devices, a lot of times the easiest thing to do is just focus on the start and stop points. Okay, the initial purchase itself, the deployment of these, and then the renewal events that happen later. So I'm kind of these items kind of highlighted in red along this racetrack right here. Now my argument back to you is that if you really want to be successful with these enterprise agreements, you've got to hit all these points in the middle. And this is actually the hard part. Okay, so you've got to work a little bit harder for this data. You've got to, there's a couple of additional data sources that you need for this, but it's actually essential to be able to accomplish this. And so an elevated customer success lifecycle, again, it's not that we're introducing anything new here. We're just putting our focus across a wider range of areas in the life cycle to make sure that we have all this data as well too. It's not just about the purchase events, so kind of the start and stop of this side of the life cycle. It's also about everything that happens in between, right? especially this use piece right here. What are all the MACDs that happen over time? What happens with the actual customer adoption and optimization of the assets that they acquire as part of these agreements? Are we continually evaluating these and making sure that they're part of the discussion? And how can we use this data to actually inform and drive the evaluate and purchase phases and renew phases themselves?